Hello everybody, I'm back with part 2 of the reassembly of the 1911. We're trying to go through this a little quick, kind of keep the time down. First things first, take it apart the way you put it. You put it back together the way you take it apart. Put the trigger in first. That just slides right down to the back of the gun. There's a little slot for the bow, sits right in there. Next step is, we took the magazine release out. That will hold the trigger in place. Just the opposite from taking apart. Give that screw there, quarter turn to the right, it'll suck the magazine release back in. That is now in properly. Next thing we need to do is take the sear and the disconnector. We need to put them back in. Obviously the flat piece, the disconnector here, will sit on the bow of the trigger. Sometimes this can be a pain to put in. It's usually not. Just slides right up in there and you can see the spot where the sear will go. It's in there. Next thing you need to do, take the pin for the sear. You will need to line a few of the things up. No big deal. It's usually not that hard. You can see it just took me a matter of 3 seconds. That's back in. Next thing, take the sear spring. There is a little groove in the back there. You can see through it. There's a groove on here. It must sit in there. That notch must go in, and the spring must grab at the top by the disconnector. Otherwise, you will have problems. Trust me. I've had problems with it before. Next thing you do, grip safety goes back in. Make sure it doesn't knock out the sear spring out of the groove. That just sits right in there. Just like so. Next thing, mainspring housing. Slides right in the back of the gun. Get in the groove, slides in just like that. Next thing you do, you take the mainspring housing pin, which will have that groove. Put it in from left to right. May need to pound on a little. Usually not much. Next thing you do, hammer must go back in. Hammer strut will curve backwards like that. Goes right in front, the beaver tail, and it will slide right down I am going to tell you, sometimes it's a pain. You will feel the pressure on it. Hammer pin, put it back in, left to right, just like every other one. Sometimes you need to push on it. Next thing you do, is you're going to need to put in the thumb safety lever. First things first, take the plunger spring. That must go back in the little tube here. Small end goes in first. That you'll be able to know because there'll be a little spot sticking out here in the front. If you can see that, if you put it in wrong, it won't be sticking in there. Thumb lever, safety lever, pushes in the back or in the front to plug the beaver tail grip safety up. It will not go in all the way because the plunger spring will be out a little bit. You'll need to take something like a screwdriver, push it forward and push it in. But remember, when we took it apart, the hammer was all the way back, so it must be all the way back to push this back in. Next thing you do, push that spring in a little bit while pushing on the slide, the thumb stop lever. It's usually never difficult. It's not really difficult right now. That is back in. Make sure it works properly. Does, works just fine. Well, the lower's all put back together. Now let's put the upper receiver back on. The slide. First things first, obviously, you need the barrel. Barrel slides in from the front. Make sure this is up. Well, you don't need to make sure it's up right now, but it needs to be up facing, otherwise the barrel's incorrect. Push it in. Next thing, I have the recoil spring. I also added a bushing, if you can see there, an extra bushing. It makes it so when you fire the weapon, the slide doesn't hit so hard when it recoils and re-engages itself, recocks itself. That will go down proper way. Next thing you do, or you could do this before you put the recoil spring on. I'll take this back out. Easiest way to do it, just put this on the barrel. It's got to go facing right. Then you turn it to the left to lock the barrel in place. Now you can put the recoil spring back in. You're now ready to reattach it to the lower receiver. All you do is put it on the slide rails. Make sure this is facing down so you can reconnect it. Watch for it in this hole right there. You watch for that thing to go in there. There it is. Take the slide stop lever, push it in there from left to right. Now remember, you had to take it apart a certain way. Had to come out. There's a little bevel in the slide right there. You must follow that. Push it all the way back until you can push the slide stop lever in. Just went in. Bring it forward. I like to put the hammer forward. Makes it a little easier. Now all we need to do, put the recoil spring plug back in, lock it in place with the barrel retention. Push it down. Be careful. It is spring loaded, obviously. It will come out. There you go. Next thing you want to do is cock it. Make sure everything's safe. It cocks fine. Hammer locks back. Push up. You want to do your safety check again, make sure everything works. Push up the thumb safety lever. Push in the grip safety. Pull the trigger. Obviously no bullets in it. Make sure it will not fire with the thumb safety up. Will not fire. Push the thumb safety down. Do not press on the grip safety. Pull the trigger. Will not fire without the grip safety pushed in. Next thing, push in the grip safety. Dry fire. Works perfect. Recocks, dry fire, recocks. The hammer will hold where it's supposed to. Sometimes if you don't put, like I said, if you don't, back to putting the sear spring in, if you don't put that in correctly and it's not in that notch, this hammer, it messes everything up. The hammer will not stay cocked by itself. Once you dry fire it once, it just floats around in there. Then you have to retake the gun apart, put everything back together. Do the hammer safety, give it one, don't cock it all the way back, but the half cock. Push in the grip safety, pull trigger, make sure it doesn't go forward, obviously. Doesn't, works. I always check this a lot, make sure it's working. Push the hammer forward, make sure the slide works, send it home. 1911, full disassemble and reassemble. The only thing we did not do is put the grips back on this gun, but I'm pretty sure if you're willing to take apart your gun, I'm sure you can figure out how to take the grips off without needing that in the video. Thank you very much. Please rate, subscribe, comment.